in the Communist Manifesto, there is a very brief explanation of what socialism is. And I am going to read it to you, and we are going to talk about this, because there's so much confusion about what socialism is. So many misconceptions. I've said many times, I learned in school that communism is that everyone gets paid the same wage no matter how hard they work. Wrong. Communism is not 100% equality of incomes. You know, I've also heard people say communism is when the government does it, right? If the government's involved, that's communism.
And it's more socialism the more stuff it does. And if it does a real lot of stuff, it's communism.
Wrong. Every country in the world has a government. Every government taxes people. Every government, you know, has a post office or that carries out at least some basic functions. That's wrong. All right? But this is what the Communist Manifesto says about what the communist revolution is. So I'm going to read it to you because there seems to be so much confusion about it. I'm going to read it to you, and you're going to see this is just like 2 sentences from the Communist Manifesto. And this blows away Breadtube. All of Breadtube should like go away and shut the hell up after I read this sentence. As we have seen, the first step in the revolution by the working class is to raise the proletariat to the position of the ruling class to win the battle for democracy. Then the next sentence, the important part, the proletariat will use its political supremacy to wrest by degree all capital from the bourgeoisie and centralize all instruments of production in the hands of the state. The proletariat organizes the ruling class and to increase total productive forces as rapidly as possible. So Breadtube should die. I mean, should just go away now. I mean, they should just go away at this point. Right? So it says here, the proletariat will use its political supremacy to wrest by degree all capital from the bourgeoisie and centralize all instruments of production into the hands of the state. Now, what does the state mean? The state means the government, right? It means the armed body of men with a legitimacy of armed force. So when all over Breadtube, you see these people say, Marx wasn't a statist. Marx never wanted the government to be involved in anything. Marx did not believe in state involvement. We're against state socialism too. Well, if Marx was against government involvement and he was against the state being involved, why did he write, centralize all instruments of production into the hands of the state? I mean, I'm sorry, but it's like if you think Marx, Marx just said, you and your friends should open a pencil factory where everyone has a fair share. Marx never wanted the government. That's evil Stalinism. Oh, Marx wanted just everyone to start a hippy-dippy co-op in the woods and have a pottery factory and share the profits. Wrong. Centralize all instruments of production into the hands of the state. So Breadtube, when they say Marx was not a statist, which is a very common belief, Marx did not believe in the state, Marx did not want the government to be involved. Wrong. Wrong, okay? You can say you don't want that, and you're free to think that you don't want the government involved. That's your business. But don't say that Marx didn't want the government involved. He very clearly wanted the government involved. Next, right? The proletariat will use its political supremacy to wrest by degree all capital from the bourgeoisie. There can be a market sector in a socialist society. It doesn't say the proletariat will use its supremacy to immediately seize all capital into the hands of the state. No. It says it will centralize all instruments of production in the hands of the state, meaning they'll be directed by the state. And it says by degree all capital will be wrested from the bourgeoisie by degree, meaning it is a gradual process, meaning that at some points it may be necessary to have a big market sector, at other points it may be necessary to have everything run by the state, but it does not say the proletariat, everything in a socialist society must be government owned all the time. So people who say Vietnam's not socialist, China's not socialist, Cuba's not socialist because they all have a market sector, well, they're wrong. They are all totally 100% wrong, right? Next, right? The proletariat organized as the ruling class, and to increase the total productive forces as rapidly as possible. What does increase the total productive forces as rapidly as possible mean? Now, does that mean at that point we make sure that everyone is poor and it's fair, right? Libertarians say this all the time, right? Socialism is about making everyone equally poor. What does increase the total productive forces as rapidly? That doesn't mean make people poorer. And this is a big thing among Breadtube and the synthetic left also. Oh, people have too much stuff, right? We need to go get poorer, right? We need to lower consumption to help Mother Earth. People need to stop having children because there's too many people in the world. No. After all instruments of production are in the hands of the state, they increase the total productive forces as rapidly as possible. Right? So we have the proletariat using its political supremacy, taking control of the government, and then seizing by degree capital economic centers from the bourgeoisie, by degree, meaning as necessary, as they want to, and centralizing, that's the important line, centralizing all instruments of production in the hands of the state, meaning that even if there's private corporations, they still must do as the state central plan says, and to increase the total productive forces as rapidly as possible, meaning the state at the center of the economy organizes the economy to grow and expand and make everyone as wealthy as possible as quickly as possible, to increase the total productive forces as rapidly as possible. So not abolish billionaires, right? What is abolish billionaires? It's a big thing, right? AOC, Bernie, abolish billionaires, right? No, it's not about making people poor. It's not about making sure no one can ever be as wealthy as a billionaire is in 2020. It's about increasing the total productive forces as rapidly as possible. This sentence I just read to you, where Karl Marx explains the purpose of the communist revolution, has China written all over it. That is China. The proletariat, the proletarian party, the Chinese Communist Party, took control of the state in 1949, and they have wrested by degree all capital from the bourgeoisie, meaning sometimes they've had a totally nationalized economy. Now they have more of a market sector. However, they have centralized all instruments of production in the hands of the state, meaning that even private corporations must do what the Chinese state central planners, what the 5-year plan, what the Communist Party wants done. Right? And what has China done? They have increased the total productive forces as rapidly as possible. They have turned China into the second largest economy in the world. They have raised 800 million people out of poverty, right? By centralizing the instruments of production in the hands of the state, they have then raised the productive forces as rapidly as possible. So anyone who says China is not socialist needs to just read this sentence, right? Maybe you don't think that's what socialism is, but what Marx said socialism is, China is 100% in compliance with. The proletariat used its political supremacy, i.e. the Communist Party, the Workers' Party, took control of the state. It wrested by degree all capital, meaning that they seized some businesses. They didn't seize others, but they made a decision. They've centralized all instruments of production in the hands of the state, not worker cooperatives, but in the hands of the state, right? Marx wasn't a statist, Caleb. Marx didn't believe in the government doing anything. Well, in the hands of the state, that's pretty clear. And they've then increased the total productive forces as rapidly as possible. No. They didn't make everyone equal. No, they didn't. They didn't increase. Their goal was not to decrease income inequality and get money out of politics. Not Rachel Maddow, Karl Marx, right?